When you've got a problem, think silicones. When you've got a question, think silicones. Because you see silicones by GE are unquestionably the answer. Fluids and rubber silicones,
resins, chemicals, silicones,
and RTV silicones from GE, they're unquestionably the answer. Heat resistant, flame resistant, cold resistant, water resistant, corona resistant too. Ozone resistant, sun resistant, shock and vibration resistant. Whatever you need, silicones can do. When you've got a problem, think silicones. When you've got a question, think silicones. Because you see silicones by GE are unquestionably the answer. First, let's see what we can see about the many uses of RTV. The furniture molding that you see here would not have been possible in yesteryear. But now with RTV, we've got those molds down cold. And vinyl shoes can also use a perfect mold. Silicones are just a must. They're also used on the lunar dust when man walked on the moon, picking up stones. The soles of his boots were made of silicones. As a construction sealant, it's really worth noting for industrial roofs. It's weatherproof coating. It works on the tops of the big sports domes for sealing and for caulking in motor homes.
Insulates the transformer on your TV set. Makes custom ski boots the best you can get. It's the coating on your waistband to make your waistband hold.
Environmental coating to protect from hot and cold. When you've got a problem, think silicones. When you've got a question, think silicones. Because you see silicones by GE are unquestionably the answer.
Heat-cured rubber resins and chemical silicones. Seeing what they can do for you will surely change your tone.
On cables in places like nuclear plants, it's the perfect insulation. Holds back moisture and corrosion, holds back oxidation.
Baking pan release, non-toxic stuff for foods. Adhesives on freezer packages to fit your foodstuffs moods. Electrical varnishes that won't wear off, and glass-belted tires too. Heat-proof seal for oven wrap that lets you see right through.
O-rings, baby bottle nipples to help you serve your baby's meals. Caulking for your tub or shower. Electric iron seal.
And as we traveled into space as part of Apollo's plan, silicone was used throughout.
Another giant step for man.
When you've got a problem, think silicones. When you've got a question, think silicones. Because you see silicones by GE are unquestionably the answer.
Now here are a few things you may not know about silicone fluids and where they go. They're used as a defoamer when your instant coffee boils. Also for textile dyeing, petroleum and cooking oils. It's the stabilizer in vinyl and latex foam. Furniture polish, shave and hand cream, it's in every corner of your home. Water repellents, aerosol sprays, the number is fantastic. The release agent for rubber, for metal and for plastic. Backing sheets on Band-Aids, grease for moving parts. Coating on oranges, opens milk cartons before the pouring starts. Pricing labels on a jar, you know how many you have seen. When you start using silicones, you'll find your gross is green.
When you've got a problem, think silicones. When you've got a question, think silicones. Because you see silicones by GE are unquestionably the answer. Maybe this will give you the proper silicone feel. Look how often they are used in your average automobile.
Polish, spark plug boots, and just to make it clearer, valve cover gasket, water pump seal, and it holds your outside mirror. Windshield wiper lube and starter clutch grease. Disc brake grease, radiator hose, and rubber tire release.
and that crankshaft seal, heater hose, high temperature paint. When it comes to protecting a car, silicone's a saint.
In electronic ignition cables, to make it work as it should, silicones resist a temperature rise beneath the hood. Exhaust coating, front seal, transmission, adhesive to secure parts. Silicones in every car from Cadillacs to Darts. And soon is bumper shock absorbent, rotary engine seals, brake fluid and fan clutch grease for your set of wheels.
When you've got a problem, think silicones. When you've got a question, think silicones. Because you see, silicones by GE are unquestionably the answer. The answer.
Wow, what a song. That was like Visions of Joanna for the industrial musical. Every time I hear an industrial musical, which is very infrequently, I think of my friend Steve Young, who used to write for Late Night with David Letterman, then The Late Show with David Letterman, great writer. He put out a book and a documentary about industrial musicals, and it's called Everything's Coming Up Profits, The Golden Age of Industrial Musicals. That's the name of the book. Fantastic book, fantastic documentary. If you haven't seen it, please check it out. Welcome back to a fresh episode of Doing It with Mike Sachs. So I'm going straight to comedic gems or comedic influences. Now, the next influence that I'm going to talk about may sound like a joke, but it is not. When it comes to comedy writing or writing in general, one of my biggest influences is the very funny Emily Dickinson. Well, she is funny. I wouldn't call her a comedy writer, but she is a genius, and she made leaps that others never made up to that point. She was totally unhinged, not necessarily mentally ill, but she just seemed untethered to this world. She was almost a higher life form or a higher form of intelligence. She came out of seemingly nowhere, and for someone who was so reclusive, she sure could understand the human condition. Poetry and comedy should have a lot in common, even though people don't always see that. And the greatest thing they have in common is every word matters. If you read Emily Dickinson, some of her greatest poems are 15 words long. You don't have to write a lot to get through a lot. When it comes to comedy writing, the same thing can be said. You don't have to write a lot to get through a lot. It can be a few words, one line, two lines, but everything has to be there for a reason. And I think poets, like comedy writers, make leaps and connections that others don't necessarily make. I think it's very important to make those connections to see things that others don't see. You also look at the world differently. I think poets and comedy writers look at the world differently than most people who are just going about living their lives. It's also writing what you want, how you want. To write a poem, you can do it in any way that makes sense to you and that gets across your ideas. And I think in comedy writing, the same should be said, whether it's writing a script or a graphic novel or something for the written page. Whatever interests you, use that as a Trojan horse to get across your ideas and your jokes. So, if you haven't yet checked out Emily Dickinson or the great Walt Whitman, who is another genius, or any number of poets, there's a million great poets out there. I highly recommend doing so. Going to this week's letter number one, and I always say letter number one, even though there's always just letter number one. Dear Mike, it's time for kids to head back to college. Have you ever written a story about college and college life? Interesting. Best, Jill Michaud, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I like this question. It's interesting. I recently wrote a story for college students, and it's called Frat Party Blues. Rockin' it Fort Lauderdale style, and it's read by one of my best friends, Ted Travelstead. So here is that story, and I hope you enjoy.
Rockin' It, Frat Party Style. A short story geared to college students, written by a 40-something author. "What up, Chief?" asked Larry. He had just finished soccer practice and was now sucking back on a bottle of his favorite brew, 40 Dog Buzz. "Nothing, friend," said Kyle. They had been best buds for 3 years now, and Kyle knew absolutely everything about Larry, including Larry's intense hunger for vagina. "How was math class?" asked Kyle, trying to get Larry's goat. "Did you study for that test?" "Fuck off, bitch," said Larry. "You know damn well that I didn't study for that test. What in the fuck?" "Easy, friend," said Kyle. "Just take it easy. I was only kidding." Larry laughed, as he knew that Kyle was merely being facetious. "So, are you planning on attending that party tonight?" he continued. "Fuck yes," answered Kyle. "And I plan to stick my penis into a loaf of bread. It should be kicking." "Just like last time," said Larry. Now it was Kyle's turn to laugh. After he finished, he asked, "Better yet, how about that frat party we learned about on the World Wide Web? The one taking place in Florida? I'm thinking road trip." Larry thought for a minute, and then replied, "'Cause I'm thinking the same. Let's do it, and let's invite Janet." Larry gave Kyle the high five and then climbed into his tremendous sport utility vehicle, or SUV, complete with the most amazing stereo sound system in the world. "Kick out the jams, motherfucker," screamed Kyle from the passenger seat. Larry did as he was asked, and within no time, Limp Bizkit was blasting from the 9 Bose speakers and 7 specialized subwoofers that Larry had installed the previous month. The sound was absolutely monstrous. Larry and Kyle gave each other another high five and then sped off through the university's front gates to Janet's house in the western and more fancy part of town. Janet was already waiting for them. She looked ravenous. Extremely tight shorts, blue tank top, open-toe sandals, breasts, soft and large, swinging to and fro. Exquisite. "What's the story, boys?" Janet asked, climbing into the back seat of the SUV, but not before Larry caught a quick glimpse of her tremendous right nipple. Larry, Kyle, and Janet had been friends forever. She treated them like brothers, and they, in turn, treated her like a sister. A sister whose image they could fantasize about, and then later, when it was dark, masturbate to. "Nothing," answered Kyle, taking a swig from his freshly opened bottle of brewski. "Just hightailing it down to Florida for a little of this and that." "Sweet," said Janet, absent-mindedly stroking her sweaty tank top. "Freaking sweet." It was a few hours later, and Kyle, Larry, and Janet were walking down the main avenue of Fort Lauderdale, searching for the fraternity house they had read about on the internet. "Is that the house?" asked Janet. She was now wearing a pink bikini, flip-flops, and a shark-tooth necklace, the latest fashion rage. "I don't think so," said Larry, popping open a fresh brew. He offered some to Kyle, who refused on account of the marijuana joint he had just lit up. "I'm so high that I could fly," announced Kyle, taking a puff. "The world is all about colors and love and freedom." Larry and Janet laughed. It was nothing for them to see one of their friends high, but this was ridiculous. "You could touch the moon," said Janet, now absent-mindedly pulling at her bathing suit top. "You're that high." "Yo, easy, bitch," said Kyle, and then, "Just kidding." Janet took no offense, as she was used to such behavior from Kyle. And besides, bitch was a term of endearment when used among good friends and close acquaintances. "Where in the fuck is this party?" asked Larry, growing frustrated. "I could really use some vagina." Easy, Chooch, replied Kyle, pointing to a large, all-glass house situated directly on the beach. There it is, the answer to all of our dreams. Larry and Janet looked up at the same time. The frat house was beautiful, just like Kyle had talked about. All glass and situated directly on the beach. It could not have been more perfect. All three nervously walked up the white concrete driveway to the front door. When they reached it, Larry pressed the doorbell. A song rang out. It sounded like Californication by the very popular funk and soul group Red Hot Chili Peppers, but they could not be sure. "May I help you?" asked a deep and throaty voice from behind the tremendous solid oak door. "This is a private fraternity party. No outsiders allowed." Larry and Kyle looked at each other. Shit, they thought. Fucking shit. "Just kidding," said the deep voice as the door opened to reveal a gorgeous older woman dressed in a black cocktail dress, stilettos, and a gold chain necklace. Letting her voice rise to its normal level, she said, "I don't always talk like that. Hi, my name is Nancy, and I'm 26. God damn, the monkey man, thought Larry. And then, aloud, "May we come in? We've traveled a long way for this party. We read about it on the AOL.com. "Right this way," said Nancy, as she opened the front door and led all three into a huge, cavernous living room. What they observed next absolutely amazed them, stunning them beyond belief. Pyramids, 15 feet high, created with only empty beer cans. Smoke from marijuana cigarettes wafting toward the rafters above. Large fraternity types placing compact discs into compact disc players. Half-naked women, their breasts jingling and jangling, perched on the shoulders of football players. Pizza pies, half-eaten, lazily strewn across expensive leather couches. A fat man with a beard pouring vodka into a crystal punch bowl. A rock and roll band playing very loudly, and a dog lying amidst all of this chaos, attempting to sleep. "Ah, spit!" exclaimed Larry. "This is the best fraternity party that I've ever seen." Kyle could only nod. He agreed, but was too shocked to say anything. Janet, on the other hand, could not stop talking. "This is incredible, absolutely incredible. I've always thought fraternity parties were supposed to be good, but this is not good. This is exquisite." Janet stopped talking. She looked over to Kyle, who looked over to Larry, and then, without another word, all three buds linked their arms together and walked directly into the amazing, cacophonous fray. Peace! It was a few hours later, and Kyle was turning off his miniature cellular telephone and placing it back into his t-shirt pocket. "That was Nancy," exclaimed Kyle. "She wanted to thank us for coming to the party. There sure was a lot of wonderful vagina." Janet rolled her eyes. "All I've heard since leaving the party is vagina this and vagina that. Enough!" Kyle and Larry laughed long and hard. When they were finished, Larry asked, "What's the matter, bitch? Can't take the heat?" "Just kidding." He tapped the SUV's horn, which blasted out "Return of Saturn" by the No Doubt. He had it installed while he was down in Fort Lauderdale, and it was smoking. "Yes, I'll have you know," replied Janet, "that I can very much take the heat. It's just that I'm tired and could use some rest." She absentmindedly swiped at her sweaty left nipple, and then at her right nipple, which was also sweaty. "Easy, you two," said Kyle, flicking on the tremendously powerful car stereo system and popping in a compact disc by the musical group Korn with a K. "Time to bust out the kick-ass tunes." The explosive sounds of alternative rock filled the car. Larry twisted open a fresh brewski and leaned back into the SUV's front passenger seat. "Good night," said Janet, reclining into her comfy back seat. "See you when I see you." Until then, exclaimed Kyle. On the other side, said Larry. Kyle and Larry hit each other's fists in a non-violent manner to signify friendship. Then Kyle took another puff from his reefer. College life is sweet, Janet thought, falling into a deep and gentle sleep. So goddamn sweet that it was motherfucking ridiculous.
Wow, what a story about college. How accurate was that about youth? I love it. For our interview this episode, we are going to the great Bill Hader. You know, what do you say about Bill Hader? He's a brilliant performer, great impersonator, mimic, just one of the best ever to appear on SNL, and most recently a writer and director for the great TV show Barry. If you haven't seen that, please watch it. I interviewed Bill a few years ago, and I'd like to replay that interview now for you, and here it is.
There are certain actors that just pop. It doesn't even matter how long you're in the scene. I mean, I was rewatching Shawshank Redemption, and the real killer, he was only on for like a minute. He's phenomenal.
Yeah, the guy he's sitting by the window and he's just like giggling and stuff. Yeah, that guy was the crazy teeth. And yeah, well, isn't it weird? It's so weird. You can sit and work a whole show and work a whole movie, and people go, "You were in that?" You know. And then you come in for a day and you're like, and they say, we're just going to cover this in one shot. It's just a quick cutaway, but you got, page full of dialogue, and like that guy in Shawshank, and you never forget him, or there's so many parts like that, where the director is if it works for the story and the director is cool to let you have that space,
Can you tell while you're shooting it? I mean, is this something that pops live, or is it just off the screen that you couldn't tell at the time?
No, you have no idea. In my experience, I have no idea. I mean, I do find that when you think about it too much, it sullies it. I think it's kind of nice to have almost a I remember Danny McBride. My first season of SNL. Did my first season of SNL, and then we shot this movie Hot Rod in Vancouver, shooting Hot Rod. And I was just kind of lamenting to him, "Oh God, I got to go back to SNL. I'm so nervous, and I just don't feel like I'm really making it on the show. Don't worry, anything like I'm just not. I just don't feel like I'm not comfortable." And Danny was like, "You just have to not care. Because once you get to that place where you just don't care, and it is, and I just really gonna sound so pretentious, but I'm reading like Chekhov short stories, and they had a line in it that was like, the unconcerned mind is the only one that can like have clarity and creativity, and I feel like that's very true, as you can't be freaking out and all tight, it just doesn't work.
Especially with comedy. I mean, I was thinking about that. There's a reason why babies and animals are funny. They're not self-aware.
They're not self-aware. It's also the reason why I'll go, "God, why is that person so cool and just doesn't care?" And I go, "Oh, they're on drugs." You know what I mean? Like they're high all the time, or they're drunk, or it's like so. And then, there are people who aren't on drugs, but I'm always, or I find that the other side of it are people who are incredibly just disciplined, right. And the discipline allows them to relax for some reason.
So it takes a long time to learn to discipline yourself to learn how to relax as an actor.
Yeah. I mean, it is a thing where you just, my feeling, I've learned a couple of things, which is I try to become friends with everybody on the crew. Now, I also want to say I'm awful with names, and so it doesn't mean I know their names. A woman was giving me the very last SNL episode of Stefan, and the woman liking me when, people are around crying and stage manager Jenna's crying and being like, well, it was the last thing I was going to do on the show. Been here 8 years. And the woman liking me said, "It's nice working with you, Bill." And I said, "Thanks." And she went, "What's my name?" And I looked at her and I don't know, but you're wonderful. And I feel like a giant dickhead for that, but I can't. And my wife is so good at names, and I just feel her judging me when I run into someone that we know, and I go, "Hey, buddy, how's it going, man?" And she goes, "Well." And anyway, what I was going to say was I'd like to become friends with everybody on the crew, or friendly and feel comfortable. So when you're working, you're surrounded by just friends or just a good energy. Also, it's just nice. I just don't understand people who just tension. You can't work well with a lot of tension. And I've seen other actors who I feel like thrive off that. They need some sort of tension, or they feel that they need, if they're angry in the scene and they show up to work angry all day.
Well, is that nerves rather than anger?
It might be nerves, but I don't know. It depends. I think it's both sometimes. Or I've seen some people very consciously decide, I'm going to be a dickhead today because in the scene today I'm being a dickhead. And then after we shoot the scene, you're dealing with a different person.
Can they say cut, and then you'd be all right with the fact that they're not a dickhead anymore?
I find that kind of corny, So, come on, man.
It's also, I think, that the old actors from the 40s who were just that character in every film on or off the screen, right? I mean, Spencer Tracy.
Yeah, exactly. But then I've also seen, I just did a movie, and I got a chance to work with Julianne Moore for a day, and she's amazing. And it wasn't rude, and it's sitting there talking to you about your kids, or talking about a movie she saw or a book she read, and action, and then boom, there she is. There's character, and then cut. Anyway, I saw this, you're just kind of like, wow. Now, obviously, that's skill, but, and I think some people, it gives them something to, whatever. I kind of feel like you have to kind of, I've done things where I've been like in between those two things, where, like in Skeleton Twins, the opening of that movie, I have to, be committing suicide. And now before that, I'm sitting in a robe and I'm talking to the director, and we're all cold and we're bitching about how cold the house is, and we're laughing and stuff. I'm like, okay, let's get in. And then, from the walk from that to the bathtub, you just kind of start putting yourself into a state of mind, you know what I mean? And then you lay down and get in the water, and then you just have to start working, kind of, So it's like it's there. It's next to you. And you're very aware. I wake up in the morning and I go, oh, I'm shooting my suicide attempt this morning. It's always in the back of your head. And so it's like you just want to have it close by so you can access it. But I don't know if I would show up to work and be rude to people or off-putting to people because I had to.
I see that in all areas of creativity. I see that with a lot of writers who are working on a piece and are so overwhelmed by the piece that they're just dicks and full-time dicks. And I don't even think it has to do with creativity. I just think it has to do with, either not being nice or not remembering what it was like to work a retail job, and to know what a retail job is, and to know that that this could be it for the rest of your life. I mean, I'm so appreciative of every minute that I'm doing this.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's something you do for free. You're getting paid for. It's unreal. And I did work those shitty jobs and did all the stuff for free. I think there's just a part of my brain that just goes like, acting is it's my job and it's so much fun and I'm so appreciative, but I treat it like any other job I've had, on Tropic Thunder, Justin Theroux was saying to me, "You pace yourself during rehearsals. You're gonna blow your voice out." And there's a scene in the movie where my voice is completely blown out because I would just go 100%. I just didn't I don't know, I never had that training, or I didn't know. I was just learning on the job, kind of, hey man, you gotta take the time so your energy do this, but you're so pumped up and excited, and, because when you get hired for a movie, it's months of waiting and do the wardrobe fitting, you do a table read, you do a little bit of rehearsals or something, and then when you're on set, it's just this adrenaline rush of like, we're here, we're doing it, and it's exciting and so much fun. You gotta pace yourself. We're gonna be here all day. You can't be screaming, and we're shooting this scene all day, and you can't be screaming all day,
So, but everything you come to it instinctively.
It's funny that you say that. My wife is here, she would start laughing, because I do overthink things a lot. I've gotten better at kind of going, no, that's the decision, and we're sticking to it. I'm train wreck telling Judd I can't be doing like a lot of voices, or you know what I mean. Judd likes to try things. He likes a lot of options, and he really likes to try to explore while you're there, and it's a beautiful luxury to be able to do that. So he would say, "What if he's a little bit more, kind of like a robot, or he's never been around a woman before, And I would try to do that, and then I was like, you know what? No, I think this is it. My brain just kind of goes, this is a guy, and then it's my anxiety is more about, okay, now I've made the decision, and then I fret over it in the middle of the night. Was that the right decision? Shit. Okay, well, fuck. We just shot for 2 days. This is the guy. Ugh. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think comedy should be instinctive, right? I mean, how much can you teach someone? And if it feels right, it's like Paul McCartney playing a melody or something. You just kind of know.
And it kind of seeps into you somehow. And kind of the same way in comedy. Before I was on SNL, I was in a sketch group. And we were essentially just doing Monty Python. You know what I mean? We were just doing Python. And we made little short films that were very much like the Python films where they all led into each other. And so, you just are inspired by that thing, and then getting on SNL, and, I remember I got to SNL wanting to, I'm not going to do a talk show. I'm not going to, do the things that you see every time on the show. And then we tried the Vinny Vedecci character and all these other kind of, scenarios, and it never worked. And Fire just came into my office and was like, I love this character. I think you should have a talk show. Wait, hear me out. And he said, here's why it works with a talk show. It's like, you can deliver jokes this way. If you can retain the thing that you like about it, it just makes it a little bit more palatable to that audience. You have to kind of be open to those things, and then you take the thing that people have seen 100 times and you kind of make it your own.
But I think it's true. Everyone who's into comedy starts off, either mimicking Letterman, like I used to do growing up, or mimicking John Belushi, or mimicking Stefan, or whoever it is, because it's an easy way in and it's comfortable and it feels right. And then from that point, you learn chops, and then you can just take it off from there.
I guess the thing I was saying about SNL is like that was kind of like learning that about, okay, the logic of it, and like Vincent Price should have a TV show, and he should want the TV show to work. I remember I wanted Vincent Price to be really angry and yelling at people, being kind of the character he was in those movies, kind of like an evil, maniacal guy. And Lauren Michaels pulled me into his office and said, why would anyone ever want to go on this talk show? And I was kind of like, who the fuck cares? It's a sketch, like, and that's when I learned about logic, and sketch comedy and comedy in general. It's like, no, you need logic for the thing to work. It doesn't make any sense. It
didn't work when you were too angry and the audience was picking up on that anger?
Yeah, well, it was just, they had no place to go. Like, Kristen would come in as Judy Garland, and I, would scream at her and put her in a pit. And then someone else, Clark Gable, would come in, and I would put him in some sort of pit with pendulum type thing. And, it was all fun for us writing it, and it was all put down humor, like all his dialogue was him putting people down. And Lauren was like, this won't hold water, that needs to be, he wants the show to work, and they're the ones showing up drunk and not listening, and they're disruptive. So now you have something to play that makes total sense, and they have something to play. They get to have fun.
He comes at it from 40 years of experience, knowing what works and what doesn't work. So even the logic within the weird world that you're creating, that has to make it has to be tethered to our reality somehow.
Yeah, you have to watch it and go, part of the fun, he's like, part of the fun of Jeopardy is Alex Trebek having to deal with these people, and you kind of feel for him, or you relate. You don't realize so much of those laughs. You remember the one-liners, but a lot of the laughs from that is just relating to the frustration of what Alex Trebek is going through. Whether it's on an unconscious level or something. And so it was the same thing with Vincent Price ones, where he's just constantly being fucked with, and everyone got to be funny in it. And then in the South Park room, it was very similar. Those guys. If you came into the South Park room and were pitching one-liners, it wouldn't work. You wouldn't work there. It was more about, again, kind of like the emotional logic of something. So many times you hear like someone say, I saw this thing on television that made me angry. Or did you read this thing in the news that's totally insane? And it's a thing that you relate to. And so because you can relate to it, you can write it. We did this one thing that they were talking about of Cartman saying, no, remember I came up with the joke for fish sticks, and someone's going, I don't think you did it, And he's like, no, remember you were sitting here, and it's a flashback of, I was sitting here, you were sitting there, and then, remember, then I said, oh, the fish sticks thing, and he was, I don't remember that, And then as he keeps in it, his story gets more and more insane, just to kind of verify that he came up with this joke. I think that's what it was. I haven't seen the episode in years, but that came from a guy that Matt and Trey used to work with. And they were like, we went through this, so let's write it. And then I just remember people at SNL going, oh my God, I think the Cartman doing the joke was so funny because they just related to it so much.
People want character and they want story. Yeah. They want to relate to someone. But when jokes just hang there, I think sometimes it doesn't really make that solid connection.
Yeah. I mean, you see that now a lot with comedy. And I mean, I get it, and there's good and bad aspects to it, where I always felt like sometimes there's two camps. There's people who are just like, I just want it funny. I don't give a fuck about anything. I just care. I just make it funny. Please. I don't care about, don't have a scene that doesn't have a comedy component to it. Or I'll go crazy. They love Airplane. They like stupid humor, and that's their thing. And then there's people who are more kind of interested in the comedy of life and having more, the word grounded a lot, like just a grounded world and grounded people, and they're kind of going through those shit. But within that, you have very relatable comedy moments, And in that world, you hear a lot when you're on the set. Someone pitch something, they'll go, well, that's a joke, And then you have the comedy people going, no shit, it's a joke. We're making a fucking comedy. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so it's kind of like, I've seen that a lot, where people butt heads and you go, oh, you're from this camp, but you guys are from that camp, and this isn't really going to work. And I like both of those things. It's great when you get both of them.
Well, can you give me an example where both of that works for you in a movie?
Well, I mean, you watch something like Transplanes and Automobiles, which has really insane set pieces in it. And, there's a lot of people, when you say Transplanes and Automobiles, they just will remember the scene where Steve Martin tells a lady off in the airport, which is so funny when he says, fuck a bunch, or those aren't pillows, obviously, or whatever. But then but those are two real guys, and it has like moments of real pathos and beautiful acting by both of them, where John Candy says, "I like me." My wife likes me. And it's really moving. And I watch that movie now and just go, how the fuck did John Hughes pull this off? That's such a hard thing to do, to have moments like that. But then also have moments where, they go between the two trucks when they're going the wrong way on the freeway, and they go between the two trucks, and Steve Martin turns over to John Candy, and he's the devil. He has this vision of him as the devil, and he's laughing, But then at the end of the film, you're crying, because he's like, it's a really hard tone to pull off. But it's just tone, and sometimes there's so many people now, I know, if you would have said, and then, they go through the two trucks, turns over, and he's dressed as the devil, and he's laughing. They go, no, now we're in another world. Now I'm in another universe. I don't know what that is. They're like, no, it works because it's his vision of him. He isn't actually the devil. It's his vision of him. You're in his head for a second, no. We got to keep it grounded, keep it, But then if you went too far with it and did something that was totally Zucker Brothers like in that movie, the ending that note would be true. The ending, you wouldn't feel anything. So you're like, well, this is insanity.
Right, and it almost seems to have to be an undercurrent of sadness for it to work, rather than a checkerboard. This scene is funny, this scene is happy, this scene is comedic.
Yeah, it's hard. That's a recent one that I watch, and I just really kind of marvel at it, how well it works.
But it seems like a lot of comedy people, including yourself, like Chekhov and like movies such as Hal Ashby movies, Roman Polanski, Jacques Tati, which you turned me on to, which is character-based and funny through situation rather than the author being funny. The characters are being funny rather than...
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Yeah, we like watching... I think as I get older, too, I love watching... The Last Detail, I think, is a really funny movie, an incredibly moving one as well. It has that tone,
Well, that's a movie that's always mentioned. I know it's Judd Apatow's one of his favorite movies, and Bob Odenkirk's and Adam Resnick's. What is it about that movie? And for me too, there's something about that movie I can't put my finger on that is just so effective and beautiful.
Well, it's really I think there's something very infectious about Jack Nicholson in that movie. It's something very infectious. You want to hang with that guy. You want to, him wanting to prolong this trip, there's something very sweet about it, where they take this guy to jail for doing nothing, so he feels bad, but they're in the military where he has to kind of turn off all emotion and stuff. So it's this very, kind of very slowly nuanced thing of, let's just, I guess it's not that nuanced. Fully says it, but it's like, let's just show this guy a good time for a weekend. Who cares? But also, they want to have a good time, and they're gonna, and there's something about Jack Nicholson for me when I watch it. I just want to hang with that guy. You want to be in the bathroom when he beats up you're Randy Quaid in that movie, and so it has this weird feeling of, I'm having so much fun, but this is all on the road to prison. Mm-hmm. So as you said, the undercurrent of sadness, and so it's that scene in the hotel room. Where it's just the time cuts of them getting drunk, and then he leaves and he gets more beer, and just it's like Hal Ashby just wants you to hang in a room with these guys. And it's great. It's so much fun. It's so great. And then they start doing the semaphore thing, and they're having a great time. And then Jack Nicholson just gets fucking angry, and he's like, "I'm taking you to jail, motherfucker." What's going on? And the tone shifts just out of nowhere. He wants him to get mad. He wants him to beat somebody up. He wants him to get fucking furious, And I think, and it reflects on that character, Jack Nicholson's character, but he's so unbelievable in that movie, and it's such a great character that you Oh, you get worked up.
Jacques Tati, you turned me on to him. Playtime, one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen. What is it about this? It's a very slow-moving movie.
Yeah.
How does this affect? How does his work affect you specifically? What makes it?
I guess there was always just the feeling that you could still have what's I would consider a comedy. It is a comedy, and almost, Jacques Tati is a French Charlie Chaplin. Is like a silent character, and does, falls and these kind of real surreal kind of physical humor set pieces. But yeah, Playtime. I guess the thing is that you could have a film that is funny and, like you said, beautiful and cinematic. And for some reason, it feels like you either get a cool shot or you get the joke. And to get the joke and to get things to play out where the comedy is, you can track the comedy, you want to shoot it in a very kind of normal way. And Jacques Tati, just like, no, I'm going to make something that looks beautiful, It doesn't surprise me to hear, David Lynch loves Jacques Tati, and I remember Paul Thomas Anderson told me when he was 12, his dad took him to the New Art, and he saw all the first 3 Jacques Tati movies in a row. And it just changed once you see those movies, you just go, why would I? You can't go and then watch just a run-of-the-mill comedy after that. It just kind of changes the way you look at it. You go, oh, why don't we do that?
Most early comedies just look like shit, absolute shit, but you're so concentrated on the jokes.
You need the jokes. You don't think about shots and editing. It's all kind of to the jokes, and so now you got something here that's cinematic, and I think film to me is a visual medium. That doesn't mean you have to be doing, something as kind of intricate as Playtime. You can still, Robert Altman movies to me are very cinematic, and they seem very simple. You know what I mean? Just long lenses and zooming in and out of things, but it has a style to it. I just like looking at things that have a style to it, as opposed to just flat and bright and big sets. Everything seems to be a little bit too big and bright, and those are the kind of movies I grew up in. 80s comedies were like that a lot. And you watch it, and some of them hold up, some of them don't. And I never understood after you watch Jacques Tati or even something like Spinal Tap, It's like, or Monty Python movies, Holy Grail looks like a Pasolini movie. Yeah. You know what I mean? It looks, they want it to feel real, and you feel the mud and the shit that's, going, no, back then it was terrible. Living on Earth was awful.
It's like the winter in McCabe and Mrs. Miller.
Yes. Oh my God. But the performances in McCabe and Mrs. Miller have this weird buoyancy to them, They're really fun. Altman's letting everybody have their moments. Well, last night I just watched Wise Blood, the John Huston movie, which is totally crazy. And that is also another one that has kind of buoyancy to the performances. Everyone's having fun, and you're letting everyone really, Harry D. Stanton and Brad Dourif and all these people really chew up some scenery, and at the same time have very dark stuff in it, like McCabe and Mrs. Miller.
If someone comes up to you, and I'm sure this happens, or even doesn't come up to you, someone's out there listening, they want to do what you do, what would be your advice?
Yeah, it happens sometimes. My advice would be, you have to get up and just do it. You have to just get up on stage and do it, and you gotta be tough. You can't be, I got my job, and I got my girlfriend, and I got, some people, I got my wife and my kids, and I'm trying to, I can't eke out, this time, and then it's not, you have to get up and do it. And all my friends who do this professionally, all of them had a moment where they consciously or not said, "Oh, I'm just going to go for it. I'm just going to do this and not apologize for it." And what happens is you get up on stage, or you write a screenplay, or you make a short film, and it'll suck. It sucks, you know. And then you do it again, and it sucks like a little bit less, you know. When I started at SNL, I mean, I could do impressions, which is just something I've been able to do, and that was my saving grace, because as far as sketch acting and sketch writing, I was a fucking novice. I had no idea what I was doing. And so it's just, you know, I put a sketch up and it would fall on its face, like zero laughter. And I would feel like shit, which is fine. You know, it's fine, human emotion, feel bad. But then go, why didn't that work? What did I do wrong? What did I, you know? And it's like what I was saying earlier about the Vincent Price thing, you know, it's logic, you know, sometimes with me. Where you just go, but this is funny, I don't care that, you know, you have the inspired funny thing, but if it doesn't fit into any sort of emotional logic, it doesn't make sense, you know? You just start to learn the more you do it, you know, and don't view yourself that you're in a race with people next to you or ahead of you, and you can't compare yourself to other people. You just have to do your thing. I won't name names, but Fred Armisen and I were talking about this, where we found out through being at SNL that certain bands hated each other. And you would find out that this band hated this band hated that band. And I remember Fred going, it's so weird because I had all their albums. So who fucking cares? And I think getting caught up in jealousy and, you know, envious, that's going to happen. I remember when Lazy Sunday happened, I was very envious. I was like, fuck, I wish I had something like that. You know, you just have to focus on the thing you like. And if you got to, you know, you're going to copy someone else for a little bit, or, you know, that's fine as long as you're doing it. And then just put yourself into it, you know? And that doesn't mean it has to be from your life. You know, I mean, the Blue Jean Committee, that whole episode, on almost a subconscious level, was all of us kind of, you know, talking about in terms of, you know, why do you do this? You know, friends of ours, people we knew who do it, and they're more like Clark, my character, who are just like, let's make some fucking money. You know what I mean? And then there's people like Gene, Fred's character, who are all about the art, you know? And it's always sad when you see the guy who's all about the art get kind of run over by the guy who's all about the money.
If you're creatively fulfilled, though, like that character was, there's something to be said for that.
Yeah, there's something very moving about him playing at that bar at the end, where he's like, hey, this is I come in here, I get to play my songs and got friends, and Clark has a big house, but he's alone, you know. He has the whole dream, but he's just alone. But that came from us seeing that, or us, you know, even on some uncomfortable level. I speak for myself sometimes, feeling like, oh, you gotta do this and make some fucking cash, you know what I mean? And you go, but it's not what I'm into, you know, and you know, which way to go, and not having like an answer, you know, just, it's a feeling you have, you know, I just gotta feel this way, so I can write about it, you know?
Well, that's what makes it so difficult. You're not getting a graduate degree where you need this course, this course, this course. You're totally off the path.
Yeah.
And you have to win your way through it yourself, which can make it exciting, but it can also make it very scary and potentially frightening. No,
it's totally frightening. No, it's totally frightening, and you just don't. And I mean, another thing I would say to someone is keep yourself open to things. I mean, when I came to LA, all I wanted to be was a filmmaker. I'm a writer and a filmmaker. I would never, you know, but I wouldn't say it out loud because I was just too shy about it. I harbored these things. Well, the whole reason you're out here is to make stuff, and I wasn't making stuff because I was working so much. But then it was almost like, well, my friend's taking a class at Second City LA. Well, that's not really part of my, you know, plan for myself, but I'm not getting anywhere being a production assistant or a post-production assistant. So, you know, okay, fine, let's go take some classes. Let's go be creative. Do something creative, you know? And then that was the thing that happened. You know, Matt and Trey talk about that, where they say, you know, we were trying to make movies. We wanted to be like the Zeppo Brothers, you know, making Orgasmo and you know, Campbell the Musical and these things. And then it was like, you know, this guy wanted a Christmas card, and we went, oh, yeah, we'll just do the full animation thing, you know? And that becomes South Park. So as long as you're making stuff, the thing that hits is never the thing that you think is going to hit. The thing that hits is, like, that's the one they like, you know what I mean? Stefan was that way. I was like, that's the thing that everyone, you know what I mean? It was a shock to me that people connected to that character.
Really? Why is that? You didn't, I mean, did it start off in a different form?
Yeah, it was a sketch first. And John Mulaney, I mean, so much of Stefan is John Mulaney, for the record. The sketch was this really long walk to get to the premise. So the sketch was about, it was two brothers, me and Ben Affleck were writers, and we wrote kids movies. And then it was so the sketch starts with Ben Affleck in a studio, and he's talking to an executive, and he's like, and they're like, hey, we're really excited to have you guys working on this, to hear your pitch for this children's movie. Where's your brother, Stefan? It's like, oh, he's running a little late. Just so you know, he's been going through some stuff, you know? And then I come in, and I'm that character. And so then it was us pitching a children's movie. And then so Ben Affleck would be pitching like an actual kids movie, but a kid, you know, his grandpa helps him get on the football team. And then Stefan would cut in and be like, yeah, you know, the grandpa is like super jacked and he's like sunburned. And, you know, he would describe what the grandpa was like. And so just explaining to you right now, you're kind of like, okay, wait, back up. So they're a what? You know what I mean? Yeah, it was a long walk. Yeah. And so we tried it a couple of times, and it was just, you feel the audience going, what? And then Doug Abels, who ran Update at the time, said, I love that character. You guys want to do him on Update? And then, you know, John said, yeah, how about he talks about clubs to go to, you know? And John showed me this email that someone had sent him about clubs. He's like, maybe he should just talk about clubs. So we simplified it, way more palatable, and then it worked. But that's just to my point is, you know, it's like everything is a draft. You know, you're constantly figuring it out. And what I've learned from working with people like the South Park guys or the Pixar guys, you know, hanging out in their writer's room during Inside Out or at SNL or working on a Judd Apatow movie, is that no one has the answer. Everyone is figuring out all that. They always have the attitude of students, you know? They're going, why didn't that work? Or why does this work? You know what I mean? I wonder why, you know? And they are just banging their head against the wall trying to figure it out because they're artists. So you gotta look at yourself that way and not feel, you can do it interior, you know, you have it quietly in your soul, but just be like, I'm an artist, like this is what I do.
And know that it's part of the healthy process to become an artist or to be an artist. I mean, even those who are in their 90s and write comedy, they're still struggling with whether a joke will work or not. Whereas if you were a doctor or an electrician or a plumber, if you work the same job for 50, 60 years, the mystery is gone. But
the mystery is gone. You know what you're doing, yeah.
But it doesn't disappear with comedy.
Or anything. I mean, that the Kira Kurosawa when he got a Lifetime Oscar, and his acceptance speech was just him going, essentially, you know, I don't know how this works. I'm still trying to figure this shit out. You know, and he's made some of the greatest films of all time, and he's like, I don't know what makes a great movie. I had a friend who worked with Martin Scorsese, and he said every day he's just going, what the fuck? What did I get myself into? Shit. You know? Right. What are we doing? This is wrong. Oh, fuck. God damn it. I did the same mistake again, right? And I relate to that, where I go, oh, I'm doing it again. I'm making things too difficult. Simplify it. Why are you, you know, and anything, you know, it's and I used to have this real naive thing of you write the movie and that's it, because you wrote it in final draft and it looks like a screenplay, so it's a screenplay, you know. or you performed up on stage and I'm now, I performed up on stage. No, man, you gotta keep honing it and working at it.
I think that's a great lesson, because a lot of people, writers, actors who are just starting off, look at certain performers, writers, whomever, and think they have it on easy street. But everyone struggles, and everyone wants to be someplace different or up or down, or they're envious. No one's completely content.
No, actually, it gets worse. It really gets worse. Well, you know more. You just know more how to. You have to just work with people. You have to understand where other people are coming from, and if you're lucky, you'll work with really great people who want the same thing. And I see the thing that has blown any movie or anything I've been on where it didn't work. It's because the director is directing one movie and the actors are acting in a totally different movie, and the producers thought they had this movie, but I've been in that situation, and I've pulled out of movies before because I've been in that situation where I go, oh, this is not what I thought it was, and it happens. Today, I have that luxury. A couple of years ago, I might not have that luxury. I might just have to be like, I got 3 kids in school, but the rejection is constant. It doesn't matter who you are. I have friends who, I fucking, read for parts for things and just immediately, no, or flying to, recently flew out, read for something, and just the minute I walked in, I got, you fly out, you put in your hotel room, you sit in a hotel room, you're running your thing, over and over again, you really, God, I know what I'm doing. And the minute I walked in the room, I just knew. They were like, no.
Why do you think that was?
I think they just needed to see me in person, and then I read it. You just saw on his face, like it was like wrong, and that happens to everybody.
I mean, even for writers, I was interviewing David Sedaris, and not every piece he writes for New Yorker gets accepted, which I was astonished by. So just the fact that if he can struggle, if he can get rejected, then everyone, especially if you're first starting out, they're going to be rejected. It's part of the process.
It doesn't go away. It's not like this thing where you go, well, I'm never going to get rejected again. That happens all the time.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, that's a good thing for everyone to know, especially for someone who's doing as well as you, that you can still feel frustration and want to be
all the time. Yeah. All the time. It never goes away, and it's just your ability to deal with it and to really be pragmatic about it and just go, oh, shit. All right. Well, and everybody has horror stories, you meet people and be a part of a movie that went bad, and you'll talk about my, movie we were in really tanked, or TV show we did is just getting terrible reviews, and always you'll see someone go, oh, well, when I made this, you should have seen the reviews. They were terrible, or we got slayed on this, or people hated this, and now it's just, people, the internet, and people tweeting, and
so it never ends.
Stuff like that. It never ends, and that's why people talk about that. I go, oh, don't engage in that. Don't. Instead of engaging in that, go make something.
Yes.
Just go make something. Don't. Because I was in my late teens, early 20s. Now, I would totally probably be on. I would totally be on Twitter, starting arguments with people, and I would totally have a blog where I would bitch about movies and music and books or whatever, and because that's all my friends and I did at like coffee shops, we sit around and smoke. We could still smoke inside and drink coffee and bitch about this and get in arguments or whatever, and none of us were working on anything.
Yeah, right.
None of us were creating stuff, and then you actually start creating shit, and you go, oh, this is way harder. This is not. And then you create stuff within a community, in a communal way, on a movie with a studio or a network or television or whatever. And it's a whole other thing that you got to deal with.
It's a miracle.
And then you go back. It's a miracle. It's a miracle when it works. And so then you go, so like IFC, I couldn't have been more blessed, with working with IFC, that they went great. Love it. And now that I know that, everything I watch, I'm like, oh, man, how beautiful was that film? Oh my God.
How beautiful!
How the hell did they pull that off?
Right? How beautiful was that? It was actually made and made well. It's such an amazing thing. But I think that sense of being positive is very important too. I see negativity, and I don't think anyone goes into comedy or writing to be negative, but I think sometimes they can become negative.
Like you become bitter.
Yeah, but I think you have to look at it in a positive way and just keep moving forward.
That's it. I mean, if you're that, or just die. I mean, I don't know what else you can do.
What else can you do?
Yeah, what else can you do? I mean, it's like you can't control it. Like, what can you control? You know, I remember SNL. I would flip out, and I just finally went, "Well, what can I control?" Every Wednesday, I bring in at least 2 funny scenes I find funny to the table. So that's it. And the other thing I can control is being good in my cast members' pieces.
Right.
That's it. And that's all I did for 8 years. Once I figured that out, oh man, it was great. I was able to just like relax.
So your work
and I had a great time.
Was noticed, and then you became a happier person.
Yeah, because your mind's not cluttered. You're not thinking too much. I'm a very neurotic person, and that helped me once I kind of went, oh, well, same thing with documentary now. Like, once we do it, we put out, okay, everything. And then I got an email from Andrew Singer, our producer, going, well, premiere date's tomorrow. And I went, oh, yeah, people are going to see this. Like, it never occurred to me that this was going to be on television.
Well, that's the best work, right? I mean,
that's the best thing. You just go, oh, we're just doing this for ourselves. I can't believe IFC is letting us do this for ourselves, And then, so then it's nice when people like it, or people come up. We just were at a party, and Billy Crystal came over to me. I'm like, oh my God, that thing was so funny, and that, whoa, cool, thanks, and we've had a lot of really nice people come up and tell us how much they, and people we respect, how much they like that show, and that just means, everything. And then, but, we weren't fighting and chopping our nails and with each other, or second guessing things and going, well, what are they going to like, or is this going to be, how many people have seen The Nook of the North? I don't know. And you get those things where you would be in interviews, and someone would be like, so who the hell's going to want to see this?
Oh,
they pose it in a way that you get, you're immediately on the defensive, and they get some good explosive clickbait type of, shit out of you, and it's really annoying. And those people, because they'll say that to you in an interview, and I'm like, what you want me to say is something insane that you can then take, and you want me to be like, well, some of these kids today, they don't really watch films. They watch Transformers or whatever. And then you can take that and be like, Bill Hader says today kids are dumb.
But that's part of working in a negative way, which it'll give you clicks, but would you want to talk to that person again?
No. And then you do see them again, and you ice them out. You never forget them. In the back of my head, I'm like, oh, this guy. And you just go, It's not worth it. You don't pick fights. Don't be in an interview and try to be cool and go after people. It doesn't work. Because they have the last word. So you just go,
Just don't be an asshole. And that they teach in college, really. Don't be an asshole.
Don't be an asshole. If you're an asshole, it doesn't. You have to be, if you're an asshole, you have to be so supremely talented. Right.
But even then, there's so much competition that editors won't want to deal with you if you're an asshole. And then celebrities won't.
Yeah, true. Yeah, there's certain people who are really amazing. And I go, why don't you see them working anymore? Wow, God, it's so crazy. They're great. And then it's usually that. Or they're like Rick Moranis or someone who just went, you know what? I'm good. I'm going to go to Canada and raise my kids.
Well, that's the thing about that I think is so great about you. You're a very decent person and you're brilliant. And it's a very rare combination. And your work has meant a lot to me over the years, and I really appreciate you giving me this much time. It's really...
Oh, man, are you kidding? Oh, it means a lot, Mike. It means a lot to me. That means a lot to you.
That's it for this episode of Doing It with Mike Sachs. I wonder what Judge John Hodgman is now doing. Maybe penning an ironic letter with a quilled pen? I'd like to thank you for listening. I sincerely appreciate it. I'd like to thank Sonar for giving me this opportunity. And I'd like to thank the following for helping to make this episode possible. Rob Schulte, the world's greatest producer. The great Bill Hader. Ted Travelstead, my best bro, for reading my Frat Party Blues piece. Until next episode, keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for my junk, Jack.
Traveling down the turnpike, heading for the shore. A thought just then occurred to me I never thought before. I've been a lot of places, seen pictures of the rest, but of all the places I can't think of, I like Jersey best. Betting halls and shopping malls and good old Rutgers U. 47 shoe stores line Route 22. The Meadowlands, the root beer stands, Main Street Hackensack. I may leave for a week or two, but I'm always coming back. The Vinelands and the Vinelands, Seaside Heights, Margate. You can have Miami, I love the Garden State. I've been a lot of places, seen pictures of the rest, but of all the places I can think of, I like Jersey best. We have horses, Princeton courses, gas stations, we have scores. Trenton, Hopewell, Lake Patcon, Mantalocan shores. Some states have their rock stars, but Springsteen beats them all. And our beautiful arena has Brendan Byrne carved on the wall. Lots of dineries, all refineries, our highways make you cough. But Spring Lake Heights and Belmar are places to get off. Drinking spots and used car lots make the place just grand. If you wanna pay a visit, Newark Airport's where you land. The Pinelands and the Vinelands, Seaside Heights, Margate. You can have Miami, I love the Garden State. I've been a lot of places, seen pictures of the rest, but of all the places I can think of, I like Jersey best. Philly dogs like chili dogs, they eat in Cherry Hill. In Woodbridge they make Haagen-Dazs, I can't get my fill. And Forked River ain't chopped liver, nor is Lavalette. There are no Jersey strangers, just friends we haven't met. The Jersey Nets went that away, Piscataway no more. Had another winning season, and next year they'll win more. Our Giants could go all the way, they could win just one. But the parties in the lots before the game are really fun. The Pinelands and the Vinelands, Seaside Heights, Margate. You can have Miami, I love the Garden State. I've been a lot of places, seen pictures of the rest, but of all the places I can think of, I like Jersey best. Well, our famous parkway is the dark way home from Manasquan. You think for all those quarters they'd turn the road lights on and have no pity, Jersey City once again will shine. With Homedale, Cape May, Phillipsburg, I like our state just fine. The Pinelands and Vinelands, Seaside Heights, Margate. You can have Miami, I love the Garden State. I've been a lot of places, seen pictures of the rest, but of all the places I can't think of, I